guys, thanks so much for clicking on my channel. We're all smiles over here. I am Sanja. It's like asking a question. Will Sanja help you keep your smile for today? And hopefully the answer is yes, you guys. I'm trying not to keep it on, but y'all already know. If it gets good, I'm gonna keep on talking. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to go. The nugget today is the absence of God. Listen, whenever God is not present in your life, then it is inevitable that you will indeed experience dark days. You will indeed experience voidness. You will indeed experience days of incompletion. You will indeed experience confusion, which means what? You won't know if you're going or if you're coming. You won't know if you are male or a female. In other words, you will be so confused over there. You say, that don't sound right. You will, because when there is no presence of God, then when God is absent in your life, then you will experience hell on earth. You say, that don't sound right. You remember the Lord's Prayer, right? It says this: Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. God's will is that way He moves in our life. In earth, where's earth? Us, as it is in heaven. Which means what? If it's in earth, then that means it's in heaven. So if the will of God is moving in your life, the Spirit of God is moving in your life, then you'll have what? Heaven on earth. Which means what? If God is present, and that means heaven on earth, then the absence of God means that what? You'll have hell on earth. Because hell, definition, is the what? Absence of God. Yeah. Now, if you go to Genesis 1, verse 2, it says this: the earth was without form and void. Then it goes on to say that darkness was upon the face of the deep. It says that first. The earth, us, was what? Without form, void, darkness, right? But then it goes on to say that what? Here's the brighter side. That the Spirit of God began to move upon the face of the what? Of the waters. And what happened after the Spirit of God began to move upon the face of the waters? It says that what? Then God spake. God said what? Let there be light. And then what? Boom, bam, thank you, ma'am. There was light. But light didn't come until God spake. And God didn't speak until He began to move. Until He began to move. Why else do God says what? Out of our bellies will flow rivers of living what? Living water. Out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. So when the living waters begin to flow out of your belly, then what? God begins to open the door, begins to turn the light on. He will. Then God begins to speak, and then things begin to become what? Manifested in your life. But until the rivers of living water be activated, in other words, until the presence of God become present in your life, then darkness will stay there, right? Voidness will stay there, right? You will be without form, which means what? You won't know who you are, whose you are, what you're supposed to be doing, have according to God, because what? Darkness is present. And the only reason why darkness is present, which means what? The absence of God, is because the lust of the flesh is leading. And the only reason why the lust of the flesh is leading is because you're not walking in the Spirit. And when you're not walking in the Spirit, like I said, God is not present. You are experiencing now hell on earth. Happiness short-lived. Don't know if you're going or coming. Don't know if you like girls today, and don't know if you like boys tomorrow. Don't know your identity. Don't have no type of form about you. Anytime you start something, you can't complete it. Why? Because you are without form. You are void. You are incomplete. And God is saying just what? Let me move upon the waters. Let me begin to move upon the waters. Let out of your belly begin to flow rivers of living water. And just as soon as God move upon the waters in your belly, then you'll see that light. God will speak, let there be light. The thing is, God don't even talk. Don't you know that God don't even speak to darkness and say, darkness be thou removed? God never talks to the darkness. God never talks to the enemy. He just speaks His word. He don't ever have a conversation with the enemy. Never has a conversation with the enemy. God just said what? Let there be light. He just spoke what He wanted. What He knew the kingdom on earth supposed to look like. But He didn't speak until He began to move upon the face of the waters. And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to walk in the Spirit, which means what? Get your heart prepped, your mind prepped to receive the will of God. And say, God, I want your will for my life. And when you say that, when you ask God that, when you allow God to enter in, because God said when he knocks on your door and you open up, he said he'll come and dine with you. Which means what? He's finna give you some living water like he did the woman at the well. She didn't even know she was thirsty. She was there to get water for somebody else, but she didn't even know she was thirsty. But she was thirsty in the Spirit. And some of y'all are thirsty in the Spirit, and you drinking that H2O over there. You drinking Zephyr Hills. You thinking, I feel dehydrated. That's why I'm feeling depressed. That's why I'm weak. I'm dehydrated. Pass me that Zephyr Hills, okay? And God said you're going to need way more than Zephyr Hills to quench that thirst. God said he wants to move upon the face of your waters. And when you allow God to move upon the face of your waters, he will then begin to speak to every dark place with his word to say what? Let there be light. And then the light will come on. And then you'll understand that God say he is the one that gives you the power to gain wealth. Some of y'all say, God, why am I not wealthy yet? Why I don't have this or that yet? Why? And God is saying, you hadn't turned the light on yet. You hadn't allowed me to turn the light on yet. You're not allowing me to move. I'm absent in your life. I'm absent in your life. And God said he wants to be present. He hadn't left. God ain't never left. He has never forsaken us. We are the ones that go astray. We are the ones that go our way according to the lust of the flesh. Which means what? We're listening to everybody. Scientists, we're listening to what? We listen to the ways of the world. God said we're in this world, but we're not of it. But now you have found yourself agreeing with the world. The world says it's okay. The world is not shunning on that particular activity. So you're saying, well, if the world say it's okay for me to be like this, then hey, I'm going to be like this because this is accepted. You should be asking yourself, does God accept this? Is this according to the will of God? Huh? Is it? Forget about what the president thinks. Forget about what your friends and family member thinks. Forget about what society is telling you. Forget about what the media is showing you. Forget about what your TV is showing you. That third eye. Ha! Yes, the TV, the third eye. That third eye showing you everything. And whatever you watch on it, it gets into your spirit. Always showing this, that, and other. Abominations. And it gets in your spirit. And it have you so confused. Well, it's on TV. They're making it accepted now. It's accepted now. So I guess I will be I could be a lesbian. I could be a homosexual. I'm just telling you the truth. They'll tell you a lie that you were born like this. Born like what? Last I heard that God said he's shaping us in his image. That he created us after his own image. Are you hearing me? So you weren't born like that. The enemy has lied to you. There is deliverance. You could be delivered from that state of confusion. I'm telling you, only thing you got to do is have the presence of God. See, if you're confused about who you are, your identity, then go to God. And if you don't believe in God, just say, God, I don't believe in you. They say you real. Prove yourself. And watch God come through. He'll show you who he is. If you really want to know. That's what gets me and irks me a little bit. People who comes against you because you say it's a God and this God can deliver you from the darkness in your life. You come against that. Why? Because there's some part of you, that spirit that says, no, I like what I'm doing. So the only time you really come against God is when you like the darkness. When you like being in filth. When you like being in a state of confusion. When you like the pleasures of the lust of the flesh. That's the only reason why you fight God. That's the only reason why you don't believe in God. That's the only reason why you say you're a girl and you want to be with girls. That's the only reason why you're a guy and you want to be with guys. They give you that excuse. That spirit gives you the excuse to say you was born like this. No, you were born with the private parts that God gave you. And those private parts are attracted to the opposite of what you have. And if you want to be delivered today, go to God. Even if you don't believe him, go to him. Just test it out. Just test it out. If you really don't like where you are, if you don't like the darkness you in, because deep down inside, you know it's off. I'm telling you, when darkness is present, you know this ain't right. I don't like the darkness. You ask any child who's been placed in a closet when you're playing hide and go seek, or you playing a game and your brother or sister lock you in the closet, how do that child act? They go, ah! Why? Because they said, no, dark. I'm not supposed to be in the dark. I'm not supposed to be in the dark, because God says what? Let there be light. Genesis 1 verse 2 says the earth was what? Without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. But then God did what? He moved upon the what? The waters. His spirit moved upon the face of the waters. Then God said, let there be light, because God knew that darkness does not belong. And when you're in a state of darkness, which is the state of confusion, which means what? You're in the absence of God, then you know it's off. You know it ain't right. There's something deep down inside of you saying this ain't right. That's why you hear more testimonials where you have atheists and they say, you know what? I was an atheist, but now I'm not. I believe in God. I was a lesbian, but now I'm not. I believe in God. I was a homosexual, but now I'm not. I believe in God. And everybody ain't gonna accept this. There's gonna be some people that click off of this golden nugget. And why? Because that you hear God knocking at the door, saying that you don't have to be in darkness. Saying you don't have to be in darkness. God is saying you don't have to be in darkness. You can have my presence. You can have my presence. You don't have to be in the absence of me. You can have my presence. Why? Because God has never left you. God is saying, I'm still here. I'm still here. I created you after my own image. I created you great. I created you perfect. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Ain't nothing wrong with you. See, the enemy will have you over there thinking that you should not accept who you are. Why? Because the enemy knows if you know who you are, if you know your true identity, if you know how God created you and why he created you, then you will be so successful. You will have a future. That's what God says. He knows the thoughts that he thinks of you. He said he knows the thoughts that he thinks of you. He knows the thoughts. They are what? Of peace and not of evil. Evil is darkness, y'all. He said he gives you a future and a hope, but the enemy does not want you to get that future. He does not want you to get that hope. He don't want you to know that God got so much in store for you. He has already laid it out for you. But the enemy wants you to stay in a state of confusion. And there is deliverance. God will make you brand new. In other words, he will take you back to reset. He will put you back how he formed you. He will give you form. Right now, the enemy wants you without form. In other words, he don't want you to know your identity. He wants you to be bored. He wants you to be lonely. Have you noticed that when you're in darkness, you can get that promotion, but you still feel like you have not accomplished anything? You can get that doctorate degree, but you still feel like you haven't accomplished anything. You can get that fancy car, that fancy house, but you still feel like you have not accomplished anything. You can get married, but you're still feeling lonely. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That's the darkness there. That's some darkness there. God is not present. Put God in the mix. Make God move upon the waters in your life, so that out of your belly will flow rivers of living water. Then you will begin to speak what God says speak, which means what light will appear and your pathway will be clear. And you will go to every place that God has destined you to be, do, and have, and you will not be lacking anything. God wants to be present. He wants you to have heaven on earth. Because right now you've been experiencing hell on earth. You have. And God is saying he has called you to greatness. He has called you to fulfillment. He has called you to overflow. But the only way you can be in overflow is if you allow God to overflow, which means what? To move upon the face of the waters in your life. And when you do that, you will see that light will appear. God will speak, not to darkness. God will just say, let there be light. He ain't gonna say, get out of here, darkness. He's just gonna say, let there be light. And boom, bam, thank you, ma'am, light will appear. Listen, stay in the presence of God. And if you've been in hell, which means we're at the absence of God, now you know how to get there. Just ask God, God, come in my life, move in my life, move upon the waters in my life. Let your will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Let me experience heaven on earth. Show me you real. Atheists, you don't believe in God? Ask God, God, show me you real. Prove yourself. He'll do it. He'll do it. He will do it. He will. So listen, I hope y'all got this. If you didn't get it, rewind this thing and watch again. But in the meantime, in between time, if you take just a little bit of what I'm telling you and apply to your life to the best of your ability, you won't ever have the massive smile. Why? Because your smiles will always be genuine. Listen, God loves you. I love you. And the only reason why I tell you the truth is because I love you. And if I don't tell you the truth, I ain't trying to get in trouble because I'm trying to appease your feelings. I'd rather please God than to please your feelings, than to please the society, than to appease or please a lie. God wants you to know His truth, and His truth is that way. He has so much in store for you. So get into the presence of God. Y'all be blessed. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all be blessed. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all be blessed. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all know what's coming next.